We are activating your unique self-discovery one show at a time. The Orchard of Wisdom Self-Discovery podcast are at your fingertips, just waiting to inspire and invite you in discovering just how awesome you really are and how to navigate through life in joy, enrichment, personal abundance, in mind, body, spirit, heart, and soul. All the people we bring you are here to serve you on your journey of life. Do enjoy our next show. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of An Author's Kiss right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my guest today is Yeso, JD. And we're going to be talking about sorcery and mystical phenomena and adventures into the unknown and unseen evil. He's written this book called The Tale, and it's actually book number 1, which is knowledge, and he has several of the books coming out, but we're going to be talking about the first book today. It's when two strangers are thrown into a world of African sorcery, unseen evil, and mystical phenomena. They are forced to confront a fantastical realm that they never imagined existed. Very few manage to land a job working in the special services for the West African government of Conti Experience. Even fewer are given the responsibility that have been entrusted to the Cobians, such as a young age and in a role that includes analyzing files and secretive S-cells, a unit which specializes in incidents involving African mysticism and sorcery. We have a lot here to talk about today. Yusuf is actually in Vancouver, Canada. He is an immigrant from West Africa, and a lot of his culture is very much in these books and in these stories, which we're really looking forward to unraveling today. So welcome to the show, Yusuf.
Thank you for having me.
Now, authoring, writing a book isn't easy. I've just written one, believe me, I know. What made you want write a book, but also tell this kind of story, and also the fact that you've got several of them in the sequence here? But was it a story that was always in your head that needed to come out?
Yes, we can say like that. I always had a vivid imagination, so building story was always present. I think what drove me to write this specific story was my observation of the world and the many subject developed through it that I wanted to explore. Um, it was an occasion for me, I think, to dive into the African narrative and allow myself to navigate through the lush nature and colorful culture. And I think with the time, as time passed, because I was building a lot of story in my head, as you said, it had to come out.
Mm-hmm.
So I combined this building of the story with the the culture of Africa to be able to make this book.
There's so much culture in Africa, and it's so very deep rooted. There's so many flavors and layers of it, but all of it is quite rhythmical, isn't it?
It is, yes. It's most of the I think most of the culture in Africa, and if you look at them, they seem quite different, but they also seem
Mm-hmm.
quite one at the same time, and they all follow this rhythmic pattern, if you can follow. So even if you don't recognize one, looking at a second one, you should be able to say, "Oh, this is from the African culture. This also is from the African culture,"
Mm-hmm.
because there are some similarities in both sides that you see.
Kind of a heartbeat that resonates at the same, right? But it's just like a single instrument being played in many different ways.
That's true.
I lived in South Africa for 11 years and did a lot of traveling outside of it. And one thing I always loved about the African culture was the rhythm, was even in the sense of movement and talk, there was always a rhythm to it. It was always so inviting and uplifting. But, even in just discussing the weather, there was always like storytell in it. So
That's
I think
true.
the culture very much blends to being a story in itself.
That's correct. The the rhythm you're talking about, the rhythm, I think it's in every aspect of the African culture, every aspect from the talking. to the dancing, to the feeling, and there is actually this saying because we used to say that sometimes African are late in party. We usually say it's not because they are late because of time. They are just following a rhythm. So
Yes.
it's a way of saying that everything is in African culture specifically. Everything is a rhythm. If
Hmm.
it's the music, it's the way the person is talking, the way this person is moving.
Yes.
We all follow this kind
Even the
of
laughter,
pattern.
the way the people walk and everything. It's this that I was always fascinated with it. I'm very, very drawn to it, because I consider myself a very rhythmical person in the way I speak, the way I go about my life, and life is a wonderful frequency, and it's a rhythm and flow. And when you tap into that, it's like you're traveling the wave of that energy, and it could be so inviting and intoxicating in many, many ways, and can take you down into wanting to open up the stories, wanting to open up more the depth of the culture and all those wonderful stories that kind of come out from the very deep roots.
Yes, true. Um, you said one word or one sentence. Life is a rhythmic, is a frequency, and
Hmm.
that's very very important in the African folklore, in
Hmm.
the African culture. If you deep you dig deep in the background, you'll start to see that the stories, the writing,
Hmm.
everything talk about this frequency about the planet that the
Yes.
African used to follow. So
Yes.
yes, it is very important
Yeah.
in
I
the
mean,
culture.
it's very much how you kind of know what's happening in the land. So very much in tune with nature, very much in tune with, with current, what's going on because of tapping into the rhythms, tapping into the frequencies. And I think this is, why, the African culture is so flavorful, because it's always bringing out the different notes in everything, in your food and the way you speak and in the way you view life, and the way you interact. It's just, it's always got these wonderful different notes that manage to dance together.
That's correct. The the part about the connection of the planet of the Earth with the African is something that goes very deep actually,
Hmm.
and the way I don't know if it's changing now. I believe it's slowly changing, but
Mm.
the way the Africans or the old Africans used to think about the Earth, it was something completely different.
Yeah.
Thinking about uh, she was there and she bore us. She made us be human. So the understanding is we have to be there to make sure that we respect her as much as possible, and
Yes,
make sure that if she's not there, we are not there.
exactly.
So
Hmm.
that's something. It's not only science, or it's not only thinking about it. It's ingrained into the nature of the African culture to say that in any way you have to, whatever you do, make sure you don't hurt the person or the house where you are, because if this goes to flame, you go to flame too,
Right.
in a certain way.
It's very shamanic thinking, isn't it?
It
It's
is.
the philosophy that is there of being in tuned. And what is a shaman but somebody that is in tune to the wisdom, understands the wisdom so we can understand the knowledge and how to use that knowledge. And that every single one of us has the ability to be shamanic, to become a shaman, to be in tuned, to channel and listen to the messages of the universe and the earth. But we always have those people that do it so well, and they become very much our spiritual leaders, which isn't really anything to do with religion, but to do again with the attunement of the frequency of Earth's frequency, of the universe's frequency, and been able to understand the wisdom and how to know how to use the knowledge that we have.
Yes, yes, that's correct actually. uh, in a way, the name shaman, it has so many definitions,
Hmm.
because for the shamanic when someone think of shaman, well, I don't know if it's everywhere, but especially in Africa, I know there are good shaman and bad
Yeah.
shaman. That's what, from my understanding. And usually people associate when you say this guy is a shaman, people associate it with evil of
Mm,
bad thing of so this kind of stuff, which is not which is not the way actually. A shaman, as you explained, the person which is in tune with
mm,
the spiritual world, which is in tune with the earth, and it's most of the time it's this kind of person you need to approach to be able to understand either the world or either yourself and
mhm.
this kind of thing. But yes, I think we should be able to define or to understand better the word shaman in a way so that at least we know exactly how we should approach it or what we should do when we hear this word and what how to approach this person who is called shaman.
And to recognize the right shaman, as you said, there are those that represent themselves as shamans, and they're the unseen evil because they have their own
Exactly,
agenda.
very simple.
But if you are coming
Exactly.
from a pure energy yourself, and an intention from love, love of self, love of planet, love of the universal energy, love of spirit, then you will recognize the right shaman. If you're coming from a place of lack or
Exactly.
fear,
Oh, that's true.
then you're going to, be attracted to the fake or the false shaman.
The false shaman, the imposter, if you can call
Hmm.
it like
Yes,
that.
yes, exactly. There's plenty of
The
those in
bad,
the world,
the
aren't there?
shaman.
Yeah. It is buyer beware. It is
There is.
very often, shamans are very eloquent with their words, but to recognize the true shaman are these words being spoken from the core, the spirit, the essence of the universe and earth? Can you hear those words coming through them? Or are the words coming from a head intent just to tell you what they think you want to know? And that's how you tell the difference, right?
Yes, so you might be more in tune uh, in the way that you recognize a good one because as we talk about some are very very eloquent with the word, so it can be very easy for them
Mm-hmm.
to attract people just by speaking, and they might not be the good one. But
Yeah.
yes, if you have a good energy and you know exactly where you're looking at and what you're looking for, you might easily be drawn to the correct or
Right.
the good shaman, the right shaman.
That leads to the African sorcery, right? And I know that in many cultures, things like stones or bones or other type of things are a way of reading the future or the present or whatever, or even used in healing. But then there's always again that fine line of when does it become bad sorcery as opposed to good. In your book, is it perceived as bad?
It's perceived as both
Mm-hmm.
good and bad. Uh, I the way I wrote the book, I wanted the reader to be able to understand that sorcery it is mythical, it is mystical, but it is also some kind of knowledge, and knowledge
Mm-hmm.
in general can be used either for good and evil. If you
Yeah.
take knowledge in the general sense of term, it can be used to design the part of an incubator, or it can be used to design the part of a firearm.
Mm,
Now, the main difference between these two designs is the focus on the mind. In the part of an incubator, the mind decided to focus on helping life. In the part of a
mm-hmm.
firearm, the mind decided to focus on something else. And I think it's the same role that apply in
Mm-hmm.
sorcery. And I don't think I take this as directly evil or only
Right.
good. It's to the reader to read the book and see that, oh, this is sorcery, but this person used that in such a
Yeah.
way that it's helping someone, right? And this one, oh, is using sorcery to do actual bad to people. So I wanted this balance and the reader to be able
Mm.
to
It's
see
the
to
same
see
way
both
we can
sides
look
of it.
at money. People, oh, money is evil. No, the way we can use money can be evil.
The way you use the money can
Yes,
be evil.
yes,
That's
but
true.
it doesn't mean money itself. It's an innate object. It's just a transaction. But how we use money to empower or to depower, then that comes into choice. And so really kind of what you're talking about is that sorcery is in the choice. And if it's used for non-good, then that I think is coming from a lack in the mind. When it's used for good, that I believe it's coming from the soul heart center.
Exactly. Everything in the world, everything that we have ever seen from the very beginning, from where we were born, has been fought by
Mm,
someone,
yes,
right? From the road to the cities to the buildings. And it's always from the mind that comes either a good thing or a bad thing. It's not the object.
yeah,
As you said, money is just an object that we
yes,
use. And the mind of a person that's using that object can make it a very good thing, or it can be used also to do very bad things. So it's not the money, it's the person behind, the person using it, the mind using that object that's making it good or bad.
right. And is the heart in it? Because when the heart is in it and you're in that state of love, you can't knowingly do any harm to anyone else, for it is to harm
That's
yourself.
very true. That's very true. The using, yes, the heart in such from some part it can be, how do you call it, direct. You don't even need to think about it,
Yeah,
because, for example, if I'm outside and I am thinking a certain way, I have my heart in a certain place. If I see someone being hurt, I won't even be thinking. I will go directly helping that
yes.
person, and that's directly coming from the mind. It's not the mind thinking. It's
Heart thinking, heart intellect. Yeah,
coming from the heart.
yeah.
Exactly.
It's
The
it's
heart and like you go
it's
directly to it without
right.
even thinking.
It's empathy, right? It is empathy. And if we have more empathy and compassion, then we're going to reach out and support one another. But if we are only thinking from the mind and switching off the heart or the soul intellect, then we're always, I think, thinking from a place of lack. And when we are thinking from a place of lack, we're always trying to substitute something. And that means, taking it away from someone else or inflicting harm on someone else because you're in pain. So, very often
Exactly.
old beliefs, old patterns, and a feeling of lack can very much lead you into the other side of the road rather than the one of love.
That's correct. I completely agree. But there is one thing also that we need to acknowledge here. So the mind is one thing that you use to be able to either do good or bad. The heart is one of the
Mm-hmm.
most important thing. But the heart is at that limit where it can be beautiful love and be able to help,
Yes.
or it can be also a big kind of hatred,
Mm,
because it's at that limit where that's where you need to be able to control it. See, if I have my hurt, I'm using my hurt and my mind to be able to help people. And it's the same hurt when someone hurt me. It's the same hurt that gave me that hate, that way of wanting to harm the other one. So it's a balance that the person need to do. It should be a balance between using one's heart and one's mind to be able to do the good that we
yes.
need to be
But
done.
putting the heart,
Otherwise,
yeah, heart thought rather than, pain thought, right? Because with the heart thought,
that's
even
what
though you're
exactly.
hurting, if you step more into compassion and forgiveness. But if you're in pain mind, then you're more in retaliation.
The retaliation. Yeah, that's
Mm.
correct.
Now, what is the unseen evil that you talk about?
Oh, the
Although
unseen
it's
evil is
everywhere, we can label it, but what
it's
are you talking about?
everywhere. Exactly. The unseen evil. I'm talking about the spirits. I'm talking about the sorcery itself,
Mhm.
and whatever bad is being done that's not seen. And for example, sorcery, even if I'm not an expert, I know it's something that you can quantify
Mhm.
and you usually can't see, right? It just affects you, and you either sick, or I don't know, whatever good or bad happened to you is mostly something that you don't see often. You can calculate, you can quantify, and that's for me a way to say, or to speak about the unseen evil that I'm referring to, the sorcery. Because in the book there are sorcery, the use of sorcery. There are spirits that usually are not seen. They are good spirit, they are
Yes.
bad spirit. So in a way, that's mainly this kind of aspect that I speak of when I say unseen evil.
I've been on both sides of that. The good spirit. I'm very much a spiritualist and was born that way and has been very much in tune with other dimension and other worlds. And I was possessed at one time because I didn't do
Wow.
enough protection. And it took 4 people to hold me down while this spirit, which I call earthbounders, the people that don't want to cross over, they want to come back into a body. They're still angry or they're confused. But most of the time is they just don't want to give up on life and they want to take
I see.
somebody else over. And it's quite a frightening experience. And it's actually probably more terrifying for the people witnessing it because I'm in it, Um, but it's very easy to, I wasn't seeking out any of this, but what I was doing, I was very much on a spiritual journey of diving even deeper into the spiritual world, and I wasn't protecting myself. And you just open up that door, and once you let them in, they want to take over. So there are ways of protecting yourself, and there are ways of embracing the spirit safely. And this is actually where the shaman or other people know how to protect you, and you learn how to protect yourself. But when we look at an evil spirit, it's very, very often a soul that doesn't realize they're dead or doesn't want to be dead or has unfinished business. And they just, they want to control someone else. And some of them can be pure evil. They really can. They're accumulation of lives that have chosen the hate and evil way rather than the one of love. But most spiritual world is purely of love energy. That is what the spirit is about. It is about the love essence, um, and it is really fascinating. It's very, very intriguing to, when I saw your book and the title of everything that you've put in there. You've written it about the African culture and you're telling a story, but it can parallel so much of everyone's life in some way or the other. Everybody could relate to it. It's not, you're telling it from the African perspective, but it doesn't matter who you are, white man, woman, whatever, you can look at that and go, hey, I've felt that, or I've seen that, or I relate to that, because it really has no color. And it really, the African culture there, I think, is deep rooted in all of us if we're willing to open up and get into that rhythm.
That's true. That's true. The thank you for that. The the book actually, when it came out, and when the people started to read about it, and I started receiving email from the readers, and that's exactly what you're saying. That's exactly what we were saying. And it didn't matter if they were
Mm-hmm.
yellow, green, black,
Yeah,
or
polka dot.
white. They just could they just could identify at some level, or to some extent, to one of the character, or to the story, or a section of the story. So, and in a way, it was one of the goals that I wanted to achieve, and I was
Mm.
very happy when I received this email. I said, okay, yes, I reached that part, and yes, that's one of the goals, to be able to make any reader from any background or genre preferences who open the book and read it, to be able to be engrossed, but at the same time identify
Yes.
he or herself to the book. So yes,
I mean, that's
I
always
was
a
very
great,
grateful for that.
well, it's always a great success of a book is when you put it down, you realize that it's speaking about you in some way, or it's opened up an inquiry into yourself, or it's reflected or shown you something that maybe you haven't been able to see in your own life, and a book can open that up for you. And but at the also at the same time, you're sharing a culture, as I said, that I think at the core of this is very deep rooted. We may go about celebrating or conducting our lives in a different way, but I think that the African rhythm, the African beat, being very entwined with the earth and the spirit, is within all of us, no matter what our culture is, or what our ethnicity is. And then I think it's a reminder when we read something like this, how it could switch things on inside of us, and to realize that there's so much of that culture, although it's foreign to the way we've been brought up, there's a connection there, an invitation there that can ignite that same rhythm in our own lives.
Yes, the the people or the readers, the way they gave me all the detail of what they have experienced, it makes you feel like I don't know how to explain this. There was this person who told me she thought she was in Africa. She thought she was an African. And I said, and she is a white person from Australia.
Mm-hmm.
She was an African because the way she connected with the
Yes.
book, and not because of the culture, but because of the story that were being told and the message behind it.
Mm-hmm.
She felt like she was in that area, in that
Mm-hmm.
part of Africa herself, and that's a great thing actually, and that's what I want to be able to share with as many people as possible.
Right. It also can trigger a past life memory. I know when I went to Africa, I felt I was home. And I know through doing various past life regressions that I most certainly, was of African culture way back in one of my lifetimes. And I think that's the reason why it so resonated with me. And, I immediately tapped into that rhythm and that beat and that, and just I think we most certainly, the frequency of it, most certainly, and, enthralled with, with everything about it, because there was an identification there. And this is something we need to understand, is that this is a vessel that we're in, to have an experience in this lifetime in this vessel, whatever color, whatever sex, whatever, wherever we're born. It's here to have this spiritual experience, human and spirit together. But we have many lifetimes. And there's different experiences in different lifetimes for different things for us to learn before we ascend to the point where we don't need body anymore. So if we do resonate with something, very often it most likely was that you were of that culture at one of your lifetimes. And it's a reminder of what you learned in that culture, and a way of igniting it again within inside of yourself as something you need to bring back into your life in this lifetime.
I'm uh, I'm so glad I'm talking to you right now because everything everything you're saying, there are so much very good points. The well, the book that of the story in itself, as you know, it's the first part, so there are
Mm,
again many parts to come. But this idea of many lifetime,
mhm.
it's one element which is going to come at some point in the book, and this is true, and it is true. It is so true, and not even about truth. It is ingrained into the African culture that you just a passenger here
Yes.
in this earth. You're just a passenger. You maybe after that you're going to go either to another plane or you're going to stay here as somewhere else. It depends of many things. I'm not too savvy on that, so I don't want to go too much into it. But for what I know and for what I understand is the person that you are now with that body and mind.
Mm-hmm.
This body might be new, but this mind is might be very old. He has been
Yes.
there. He has had many
Yeah. Old
lifetimes.
souls.
Also, exactly, maybe in different level or different plane of existence. And sometimes you can, either if you take it as a dream or as a deja vu, you can see for a
Mm-hmm.
glimpse of that at some point.
Yeah.
So, in many ways, yes, I want to be able to tell stories, beautiful stories, strong stories, but I want to be able to expand all this
Mm.
detail about the African culture from what they believe in and for what they thought process and everything that goes along with it. And yes, what you mentioned right now is going to be in
Oh,
the book
good.
at a
Oh,
certain
good.
point. So
Good.
yes,
Yes, I
and
look
that's
for.
why I'm saying I'm very glad that I'm talking to you.
Well, we limit ourselves in our human mind thinking. We're stuck in pattern beliefs that are just regurgitated one life after the other. And we're not here to be robotic. We're here to have this wonderful experience of spirit and body and mind, heart, and soul all together, to have this wonderful experience of the touch, the taste, the feel, the embrace of earth and being an earthling with the spirit mindset, with the spirit heart and soul set, and to have a wonderful experience in that lifetime. And if we do not rectify whatever's wrong in our life in this lifetime, we come back to rectify it in another lifetime. And this is why you get certain people that realize, hang on, I just don't know why I'm carrying this. I just don't know why this doesn't feel like me. Most likely is a past lifetime of unfinished business that you have now been imposed upon to clear up in the particular current lifetime that you're in. Once you recognize that, you can rectify it and you can move on in your own essence. But there's so many layers to us. We're not just this human blob. There's so many beautiful layers to us. Like, the notes like an orchestra. And if we learn to recognize the music, we'll actually learn to understand why we're here, what we're here to do, and what the experience is all about.
That's that's true. The the thought process of living multiple lives, which is already ingrained in the African culture. Usually, if as you said, if you do a bad thing in a lifetime, for example, in this lifetime, you do a bad thing, you might be drawn to another lifetime where you will have to
Mm,
rectify it. And as I said, I'm not an expert in that field. I know only a few box section where I have been told by
yeah.
elders, but from what I understand or for what I have been told is you should try to make sure that you do your best to always do good by the people and the creatures and the earth around you. When you do that, it's not only your body, it's your
Yes.
mind that register that. And
Mm,
when you're going to pass on, this is going to be one aspect of it that will guide you to the next level, or one aspect of it that you bring you back
yes.
as, I don't know,
That you
maybe
have
the
to
same
rectify.
person,
Yeah.
maybe a
Yeah.
different, exactly. But yes, it's been told by so many people from so many different cultures. There might be something there which is might be very true. Because if you were only one culture who says that, you say, okay. But it's not only the African
No.
culture, they are very different culture who speak
Yes.
the same kind of language
Hmm.
and tell that you have different life on this planet. So there's something to be taken seriously.
I think one of the things that we need to have, and it sounds like your book is doing this, is opening up our minds so that our soul, spirit, and heart talk can speak to us. We've become so narrow in the way that we think or the way that we accept things. And when we read something that feels a little far-fetched or a bit far out there, initially. The more and more we read through it, the more and more it triggers something inside of us going, well, is it far out there? Is it so, crazy? Maybe there's something in this. And, this is where I think humanity is desperately needing, because I feel that we are behind in our evolution of our spiritual beingness. We're brilliant at technology and all of that. We're also great, as you said, screwing things up instead of using it wisely, and I think the more we become in tuned with our heart, soul, spirit, then we actually understand why we're here and what we're here to do and how to do it. And I think when we have books that just, oh, it's just an interesting book, fascinating to read, and that, mm, got a point here, or is that real or is that not real? And the more that we make people inquire, the more we open them up to receiving more information, and see things in a different way, because most people are walking with blinkers. They're not paying attention to the signs around them all the time. And Mother Nature, believe me, she has many, many signs and speaks to us all the time if we would only listen.
That's completely true. You know, in there's a saying from one of the elders in Ivory Coast, who said, "If you want to learn, observe nature. It's the best way to learn.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about doing calculation or no.
Yeah.
When you observe
Immersed.
your best weapon or your best tool is observation.
Yes.
Observe the world. When you observe the world, or when you observe nature, the growth of a tree and all the aspects that happen around it, your mind start to open and you
Yes.
start to navigate. You even knowing, you start to understand
Mm.
few things. And the structure that we have now, and I'll say it happened also in Africa, but everywhere, is for the human mind to be focused on something
Mm-hmm.
because he needs to be able to feed his family. So he doesn't have that much time to be able to look at the world, and that's the structure that's happening. So you are stuck in such a way that you don't have enough time for yourself,
Yeah.
to be able to observe the world. You
Mm-hmm.
just have to focus on how can I feed my family? What should
Yeah.
I do? And when your mind is focused on all of this, you can focus on everything else.
Yeah.
And in the village, the elders teach the youngster most of the time to be good observers, and not good observers only of the people, or the creature, good observers of everything, to be able to understand how this person work. What should I do to make this person happy? What should I not do to make this person mad? And the same person, the person on the other side does the same thing. So
Yeah.
there's this combination of be able to understand each other, and not only between the human and the animals, the human and the
Yes.
trees. So you know exactly, if I'm taking that much amount of maybe mangoes on that tree, I might be hurting someone
Mm-hmm.
else. So I'll take only what I need and then give and leave that to the other person. So there are so many thought
Balance.
process that goes with that observation, that we should be, when you do that, you should be able to understand more. But because of the way we move right now, because of the way the world moves, and the need to be able to get enough money to feed the family, and that's very important. That's what is happening. That's what has to happen, because that's the way the world runs right now. But in a way, it's helping you to be able to do a lot of things that you want to do, but it's also pulling you away from other things, like the time that you need to be able to observe everything, observe the world, understand, and this kind of thing. So yes.
We've lost the village. Where the village is only as strong as everybody's participation. The village comes together, each with their own gifts, their own expertise, and they strengthen that village. In bad times, good times, they're there for each other. and that village is strong as a unit. And in Western society, we are very isolated to become very, insular in ourselves rather than be creating a community, creating a village within our own realm here, and then we feel very alone and feel we don't have time for ourselves. We don't have time for this or that. But if we made the time, we would actually understand the answers that we need, the strength that we need, the love and the meaningful purpose of what we need is found in those times that you can bring back to your everyday life and strengthen it. Instead of just surviving, you'll learn how to thrive because the universe and the Mother Earth never lets us down, but we've just got to learn to listen and speak.
It's that's true. And in Africa, there's the saying, the parent not don't only raise the child, the
Mhm.
whole village
Yes.
raises the child.
Mhm.
Because what maybe the parent won't be able to teach you, an
Yes.
auntie or someone, the neighbor should be able to teach you that. And something that's still present in the village in Africa. I'm not sure about the cities because everything is being
Yeah, changed.
changing and being westernized. I'm not sure if some people have retained the same way of living, but I know in the village that's what happens. And when a child have all this influence from around him, he grows in such a way that he is so well balanced, or she is so
Yes.
well balanced that
Yes.
she's able to face the world in better ways
Yeah.
instead of only the teaching of only the two parents. The two
Mhm.
parents are people too.
Yes.
So
And in
whatever
their own strife, their own anxiety, and that's what they're teaching their kids. And it's not that they
exactly
want to, it's just that they're trying to survive, and we do need everyone else. There's
that's true.
something else I
That's
love
exactly
about, certain African cultures is that when somebody has done a crime or done something wrong, instead of incarcerating them, etc., there is the circle where they have to apologize, where they have to admit what they've done wrong, but at the same time, the questions of us, why did you do it? What was it that made you do it? And help them get to a place of that they won't do it again, not out of shame or fear, but out of a better consciousness of why not to do it.
it is true that you bring that the subject. I'm not sure if it's still present, but I know that uh, in history, in the African kingdom, in the African culture, prison, the concept of prison doesn't exist.
Right.
We don't know prison, where you say that, okay, you commit a crime, you're going to put in a prison for this kind of this amount of years. It doesn't exist. Usually it doesn't. I have to be careful here, but it doesn't work
Right.
from the thought process. As you said, we are going to ask the person. There's the shame which is there, but we're going to ask, why did you do it, and
Mm.
all of these questions. But usually, when the person is very young, is going to be when that happen is being brought outside the village when because the elder can usually they can see what the person is becoming or what kind of person is going to be if he
Mm.
continues in that path.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when that happens at a very young age, we pull him out from the village so that he has a different kind of
Perspective.
teaching from
Yeah.
the
Mm.
exactly. The elders or the person out of the village is going to take care of him, make sure he grows back
Mm.
into into the society that they want. Not by punishing him,
Yeah.
no, they have some
Enlightenment.
kind of exactly some method and some technique, some teaching that we are going to teach that person. And when he comes back in the village, he's a good person. Or even if he's not a good person, he's a decent person, at least to be able to continue with with a society.
It is so
I,
much healthier that way to do it. In North America, America especially, 70% of foster children are incarcerated. Now that doesn't say they're the failure. The system is the failure. We have failed them. If 70% children that are foster children are in jail. What does that say about how we have served them? We've served
No,
them
but
very
you
badly.
can't. You're right. You can say that the problem are with children. They are
No.
learning. They are growing. They
Yes.
are learning. Something is happening that's shifting this person in that path. And what do we have to bring them back?
Yeah.
We don't. We just take them and put them in a
Yeah.
cage, right? And that cage, most of the time, I don't think it makes them better.
I think it kills their
Either they
spirit.
stay the same or they become worse.
Right. And it kills any form of spirit inside of them, any form of belief or hope inside of them. Right. It just, they're around criminal elements. And as I say, they become better criminals or they become a victim inside the jail of the criminal element there. So whom
Exactly.
is it
I hope
serving?
that's
Now,
it, Kali.
now there are people, outright murderers and serial killers and things like this. Yes, they deserve to be locked up. But when you're looking at a youth, you've got to look at where are they being brought up? How are they being brought up? Who's been supporting them? Why did they make this choice? Right? And we don't ask those questions. We just throw them away like garbage. Right? And that is what's so very, very wrong about Western society is that we don't look at a human being as a value. We look at it as, commodity. Are you making money? You're rich or famous? No, and you're nothing. Right? So it's there's an awful lot that we need to undo. And I think that if we go back to the core cultures like an African culture, like that village culture, and look at how are we nurturing our children? How are we teaching? How are we being an example for them? How do we show them that when they make wrong choices, how to rectify and apologize for that choice and come back to the right choices instead of persecuting them on it? So a lot of that kind of culture needs to come back into society because what's happening right now is not working.
There's so many things to unpack here. There is this African saying, um, "You are your environment."
Mm,
So it usually means if you look at the plant, the way she grow around her environment, that's what's going to shape her. You look at the tree, you look at the animals. It's the same thing, and we are not different.
no.
We are human, but we are part of this world. So the way you grow and the environment that you have around you usually defines pretty neatly what kind of person you're going to become. So of course, you find some diamonds, and I'm going to explain exactly what diamonds are. But in a very rough environment, the child will surely grow to be either a criminal or someone who has built so many carapaces to be able to protect himself that he followed that path of, and he
Mm,
doesn't even know if it's bad or not. In a good and loving environment, you see that the person also usually follow that path. And the diamond I want to come back to are this person. They grow in a very, very hard environment. But at some age, they realize that this is bad. Even if nobody told them, they
mm,
realize that this is bad. They either want to change that environment or get away from it,
yeah.
because if you don't get away from it, you're going to always be drawn to it. And why I'm saying all of this is it's no different from what we have here.
Yeah.
If a person growing in such an environment that is always prone to this kind of violence, I don't think bringing them or sending them in prison is the help. We just have to figure out how to drive that person to the right path. But the question is, do we know?
No.
Maybe we lost that knowledge for a long time.
Yes.
Or if we have that knowledge, why not apply it? We just have to find a better way for what I'm understanding. And I really hope that in Africa, I know it's still there in the villages. I
Mhm.
just hope that it's not changing because of the cities
Yeah.
changing also. But I would really love that to be here because in Benin, for example, in the past, in Benin, people didn't have doors in the house because
Hmm.
there was no thief. The
Yes.
the concept of thief was
Right.
not there,
You respected
right?
each other
Everyone
person's
respecting
space.
each
Right.
other
Yeah.
exactly. There was no concept of I'm going to steal something from you because that mindset was, and it's based on whatever system they had that push these people to think that way. So whatever
Yes.
we have here, there might be some good, there might be some bad, but there's definitely something that's pushing the people toward that section, and we just need to figure out what it
Right. I've just written my memoir,
is
and
to be
in
able
it, I wrote as a child. I have my pram, my doll's pram with the dolls in there, and I'd go walking everywhere with my doll's pram in my own little world, and, as long as I was back for tea, then it didn't matter. Nobody worried, right? There wasn't anything to worry about then. Like as kids, we went outside to play in the street or in each other's yards, and we knew that to come back at a certain time. Today, if our children aren't seen on the front lawn or we're not with them, we panic because we just don't trust people. It's just like some harm can come to them in the blink of an eye, and we live in that fear all the time. And it's like, what went wrong? What went wrong? What energy are we feeding? And I do believe very much it's the energy. That negative energy has been building and building and building, and people don't know how to release it from themselves. And that energy is being projected out all the time, that it's overpowering that positive energy. And everybody needs to, and this is, for me, and the understanding is we are our own choices. We can't choose what happens to us, but we can choose what we do with it. And we need to look and take that journey within ourselves to find our own self love, our own meaningful purpose, to find our own frequency, our own note and contribution in the world. And when we do that and we step into that love and that connection to spirit and earth, then we truly will find that meaningful purpose, and we will know we are of service to one another. And we can't, in that state of love, knowingly hurt anyone else. But why there's so much of the negative energy out there, and we're paying so much attention to it with social media, the media, and everything else, the good energy isn't being able to rise up or balance out. So if we are angry, if we are mad, if we are feeling unhappy in our lives, we've got to recognize that and find our way back to that connection of heart, soul, spirit, and love, so that we can be the balance of energy that really does serve people, because the negative energy doesn't.
it doesn't. The negative energy is only bring the worst, I think,
Yes.
in the people. In the book, there is a section where one of the character, Joel, where he's in the village and he's talking to one of the elders. And before the elders find him, he was thinking about his sister. He's worrying about his sister that he has to save. And the elders tell him that from my heart, I felt your energy. That that fear that you are feeding into is not going to help anything.
Right.
What do you want? He asked Joel, what do you want? I want to help my sister. Then focus on that instead
Yes.
of worrying about what is
Mm.
going to happen to her. When you focus on, I want to help my sister, because your mind goes to that, you're going to think next, what are the steps I need to do to be able to get close to
Yeah.
her? So it's this kind of process that maybe we need to be able to focus on instead of
To
fear.
tune
And
into.
fear is exactly fear is dangerous. It
Very.
is good because at the beginning of the process, it helps the body to be careful of
Mm.
whatever harm. But if you hold on to that fear,
Mm.
you're able to you'll be able to do some very, very bad damages,
To
which is not
yourself.
good to
Yeah.
yourself, to
To
your
anyone else.
surrounding,
Mm.
and you'll be doing things that you don't even think possible because you were afraid.
Hmm.
So these are the things that maybe, as I said, it's still there, and you're right talking about the heart, but the mind, both of them are very important, and the fear comes from mostly here,
Yes.
right? So we need to be able to see, okay, should I be able to fear that? But also, as we just talked, the environment also can push someone to be
Yeah.
very fearful. And
Well, that's how
if
they
you know that,
control. That's a control factor, right? Keep
if
people afraid, you keep
exactly,
them controlled. Yeah.
exactly, if you know that you're in the environment where your child is likely to be kidnapped if
Hmm.
it's outside, you're going to be fearful.
Yeah.
And as you said, if they know how to control that thing, if they know how to control you, how you're going to react. So we
There's
just need to be.
caution. One can have caution and common sense. That's just being practical, but don't let it go to the fear side because fear is such a almost intoxicating thing that can consume you. And once you're afraid, you look at everything fearfully and without trust and believe everyone's out to hurt you. And then come along the puppeteers. I will save you. Just do this, just do that. Right. And then you think you're safe. And really, what you've done is you've fallen into that trap. So we've got to be very, very careful. Like when the fear, the back of your hairs on the back of your neck go up, pay attention, right? Pay attention to that. That is a warning or something. If a feeling comes across of not to walk in front of the bus, please pay attention. But don't let fear rule your life because it does cripple creativity. What it does too, it literally crunches your body up. And when your body is crunched up, no energy, no chi, no fluidity can run through your body. That means no clarity can. So the deep breath, aligning your chakras, letting your body be at ease and inviting, this, I am worried about this, but what is the solution? Ask the universe. Ask the universe, how do I rectify this? How do I solve this problem? And then be open to receive because it will always come in a very odd way.
Ask the universe. What a beautiful way to say that. And also there is this, as we saying, if you feel bad or you feel hurt or you feel anxious, look at the sky.
Mm-hmm.
That's an African saying. But yes, usually when you're very happy, that's where you look at the stars most of
Yes.
the time. And you're right. We just need to be able to control the way we accept fear into our life. Yes, it can be something that will say, okay, I'm going to protect you from that very moment. But you can't let it guide your life. Otherwise,
Yes.
it becomes a problem. It becomes a problem for you, for your environment, for the people around
Yes.
you. You become very violent, even not even knowing that you have become maybe violent. And because you're fearful, you're going to affect everyone around you. So
It also makes you wrongfully vulnerable. When you are in your heart's truth, your soul's truth, that vulnerability is a gift. When you're in fear, that vulnerability becomes a detriment. Be
yes,
careful what
correct.
you feed. Be careful what you feed, right? Because what
Careful
you
of
feed will grow.
what there you go. That's
Mhm.
it. Be careful where you put your mind to, where
Yeah.
where you want your mind to focus on, because that's exactly where it's going to focus on. You focus on the fearful or all the bad thing, it's going to develop that for you.
Hmm.
You focus on the good thing, it's going to develop that also for you. So just be careful where you think for. The mind and the body have a tendency, or the um, yes, the tendency to first project that fear.
Yeah.
And it's for you now as a person and as using your conscience to say, okay, I'm afraid now. I should back off and see exactly what I need to do. Because the
Yes.
fear is there to protect you, but don't let it
Consume you.
envelope you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It consume you.
The characters in this first book, will they be in the next book? Is there a thread? Are they going to be in all of the books?
I don't know if I'm able to say that, but
Oh,
if it will be, a spoiler. But no, but we already know that Kwadwo Joel, which is one of the main characters in the book, is going to be there because he survived uh, in the first book. But the other one, one of the main character, we don't know. We'll
Ah.
see in the second book.
Have you written the next book?
No, I have not. I wanted to be able to make sure that people are very aware of this first book, and I have done my tour, my interviews, and then I can sit and focus on the second book. But it took me that long to be able to write the first book because I want to make sure that everything was complete in my head. So from the first book to the last book, everything is there. I just need now to sit and be able
Right.
to
Yeah, the
write.
foundation and the stage is set now. So now
Everything is
you're just putting the
exactly.
players in, right? You don't need to reset the stage. Um, how easy does the writing come to you when you put yourself to it?
Well, it really depends. For me, the writing becomes very easy and very enjoyable actually when I'm sure that I know exactly what's going to happen in the book.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, for a chapter, if I'm not visualized it in specific detail, I won't be able to write it. So I have to make sure from the blade of grass to the person around me, what he's wearing, the way he speaks. If all of this is there, then I know, okay, this is in mind now. Now I'm excited. I want to put it on paper. Otherwise, it can be difficult. I don't think I can sit like that and start writing. I don't think I'd be able to do anything
Right.
if I do that.
So you
So my
need
my main process was
right. You need your stage. You need your stage for the
yes, my main
players, right?
process
Yeah, I'm
exactly.
a person. I write and it just comes out as kind of conduit coming through me. So I very often have no idea what I'm going to write about,
I envy
and I
this.
just let it go. So I step into flow.
I envy that because that's beautiful.
Well,
Yes,
my brother is a
that's
professional
beautiful to be able
writer.
to sit and be able to write.
But do you find
Oh,
those
I see. Okay.
characters? I mean, he's a professional writer, so and even with him, even though he has a structure, his characters very often take on a persona of their own and start doing things that he hadn't planned. Did you find that with your characters in the book that suddenly they took on a different personality and started doing things that you hadn't planned them to do?
When once the character is set and I place the story, I just follow the character most of the time. Yes, I know that okay, in that section, this is what is going to happen, but I don't know what happened in between. And
Right.
usually is when I finish setting up the stage and I'm sat and I'm writing because I know already what the character is, the way he grew up, what he has been influenced to. I know in a way how he's going to navigate. But sometimes also they take some steps that you don't see it coming.
Yeah.
But it feels so right at that moment.
Yes.
Yes, let's write it because this
Yeah.
feels right for that
Yeah,
character.
yeah, it's that's being in flow, allowing them to have an experience that you're having it as you're writing it, right? That's what I always love when I read back something I've written, or I do my own show every week, and sometimes I just press record and let it come out of my mouth. I have no idea what it is. If I listen back or read back, it surprises me because I've stepped into allowing of what needed to be said at the time that it needed to be said. And when I was writing my memoir, I did the same thing. It's like, whatever needed to come out, needed to come out. And but we all have our writing techniques. And, my brother very much is like you set the stage, then let the characters come on. They have their lines, but how they produce those lines, it comes in the flow of the story.
Exactly,
Hmm.
exactly.
Yeah.
It can be, I don't know if I should call it a magical moment, and you feel like, oh, this guy he's alive
It's magical,
because
darling. It's
yeah,
magical. Feel the
because
magic.
you're writing and you feel that okay, he said something that's wow, okay, and that's exactly him.
Yeah.
So it is incredible.
And there's so much you realize of yourself in the characters, or how much even the characters now have had an influence on you.
Oh, I think he has been going both ways.
Yeah,
Um, I think I was able to bring this character and the world from the ground because of who I am, the experience I had as a child, and my growing up with my parents and with elders in the villages and all of this. I was able to do that. But now that when I was writing and sometimes taking information and learning about what I was going to write, that at some point it then comes back to me with some knowledge that I didn't know, or some experience that I didn't have, and it's a beautiful thing, especially when everything comes back to you. And I was able to learn so much during
yeah.
the writing process, which is it's an incredible thing.
That's the gift. That's the gift back to you. Right. Yeah. I mean, it's wonderful that
That's it.
if your book can become a bestseller and lots of people read it, but quite honestly, what was the gift that was given to you in the process of writing it? And I think that's what some people
Exactly.
forget. You know, if you write a book not to please everyone else, but you write that book to please yourself, it will please everyone else.
That's true. I don't think I was thinking about my main goal when I was writing was to be able to make sure that I write a good story and I make sure that I give credit to the Africa because I was writing about Africa. Yes, I want the reader to love it, but I wasn't focused on the reader when I wrote the
Right.
book. I was focused on the story, what the character are, what they want to tell the world, what they want to portray, from old Papa to Joel and all of this. Now that it's out, let's see what the reader is thinking about it. I don't think I'll be able to write thinking what does the
Yes.
reader want or what not.
Yeah, well,
I won't
you'll
be.
only
I don't think
disappoint
I'll be able
yourself.
to do
You'd
that.
only disappoint them because if you're writing to please everyone else, there's always going to be somebody displeased. So, it's right from your authenticity, right from your own presence, and you will please those that are in tuned with it. And those that aren't, aren't. And that's all there is to
Exactly.
it, right?
Exactly.
So this
I
book is
was. I
out
was.
now.
I was telling myself. It is. Yes. It is. Well, it has been out for what few a year now or more, I think.
So
So
definitely ready for
yes,
the second book. Winter is coming.
no
It's a good
problem.
time to nest
I'll
in and do the
I'll
book.
get I'll get to it. I'll
The,
get
the
to
the
it.
thing is, when somebody does read a book, don't leave it too long before the second book comes out because they're hungry for it, right? You want them to
That's true.
remember it. So,
That's true, and
but
that's exactly what I saw when
yeah,
people are sending email. Where is the second book? Where
yeah,
is the second book?
exactly, exactly. Get writing.
Yes.
I for me a good book is when I put it down, I talk about it. It's had a feeling in my life. It's something I think about. Then I know, that story's really touched me. And there are some books, and what did you do this weekend? I read a book. What was the title? I can't remember. But when it's a book, well, you've got to read this book. This book had this, or you're talking about the book, then you've got a good book. So you've got people emailing you and commenting on it. So clearly you've hit a book that has hit the right nerves and has got
Oh,
people talking about it in the right way, which is good.
I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful for that. That's all a writer like myself, especially a new writer like myself, can hope for. When you get feedback like this, okay, so something is good there. So
Yes,
let's
yes. So now it's
continue.
time to write the second book and then come back and share that one with us as well. So, how do people get the book
Of
and
course.
how do people reach you?
Uh, well, I'm not a big social media guy, but I have to open a lot of social media because the reader was demanding it. So I have Instagram now and I have Twitter. So Instagram is the name YesOGD. People can reach
Can
to
you
me
spell that out for
using
them,
that.
for people who are listening? Can you spell that out for them?
YesOGD is YESSOHGD.
And that is on
It's
Goodreads, and that's on Instagram, and that's on Twitter.
Godwin, Instagram, and Twitter.
Right.
Yes. And they can also email me the same name, yesogd@gmail.com, or they can go to my website, which is Vitale Series.
The Tale Series.
That's
TheTaleSeries.com.
that's something that I needed to talk about. It's not Tale, it's Tale.
Oh, Tale.
It's
Okay.
Tale.
All right.
And
So, right. So,
it's a very good that you mentioned that because Tale, it read like tail, but
yes.
it is not. It means something completely different. It's
Ah,
coming from it's a name from a royal group in the Western Africa called the Aka. So they have a name called Tale that means something in the book. So if you read at the end, or it's going to figure out. But yes, it is Tale.
right. So when you're going to the website, it's the THE Tale, TALE, and then series, SERIES.com.
Dot com.
And of course, you're on Amazon.ca, Amazon.com, Barnes and Noble, and Kobe. So people can buy the book from anyone else, any one of those. And of course, you are going to be writing your second book now, which hopefully you will be back next year to share. And you don't know how many books are going to be in the series, right? You're just going to let it unravel as it goes.
Well, I have the number in my head, but do I want to share? I'm not
Oh,
sure. I don't
come
know.
on. How many books?
There is four book. Sorry, there is four book coming. Um, there's four book coming. So this is the first one, and there's three more coming. So yes.
Well, I know from not only being a reader, but from podcasting for so many years, people love a sequel. They love a story being unraveled over several books. Three books, four books. It's always that continued tale. What are they up to now? Where they are now? What's happening now? And again, it's that relativity to their own lives. Sometimes it's just escapism into another world, but it's people love the continued story. So get writing that next
That's
book.
I will, I will. No, that's correct.
We're in for a rough winter in Vancouver, so it's a good time to hibernate and write.
I'll sit down at some point and then forget
Let it
about
all
it
out.
and then let it all out. There's
Yeah.
so many things that are yet to come,
Oh, good.
especially about to unravel about deeper into the African culture, the African
Mm.
belief, and there's more to come. So yes,
And again, what I said right in the beginning about the African culture just being kind of so magical, and at the same time, there's so much that we realize is the core of our beingness. It's the core of the earth. It's the core of spirituality. It's the connection to universe. And by understanding the African culture as well as the Indian culture and the deep Asian culture, these were cultures that were based in the spirit and earth. They represented and understood it was a partnership between spirit and earth, and the respect and the knowledge and the wisdom, and that's how they managed to survive. And Western culture has taken that away a great deal, and we're lost without it. So the more and more that can bring people back to that core of spirit and earth, and understanding the core that lies within us and igniting the spirit within them, more the better.
that's correct. It's beautiful because I started writing when I was in India actually. I spent a great deal of time in India, around 6 years. And as I was there, you you enjoy, or I'll say you admire that beautiful Indian culture
Yes,
and what they were capable of and what they were doing with the culture itself. And sometimes you see some similarities
yes,
in the thought process or in the action. They are not all the same, but you can feel
yeah.
some similarities between
Core value.
yes,
You have the
between
core value.
exactly between the African culture and the Asian culture. I don't think I don't think all the ancient culture were
Hmm.
that different. Of course, there was some uh, differentiation here and there, but I think the core value most of the time was always based on the spiritual side. And I
Yeah.
think the, most of them still have it. So
Yeah, and in Europe you have different type of culture. I think more I resonate when from the English side is more the Celtic culture,
it felt
and because very much to do with with earth and spirit, and that everything has an energy, everything has a significance, everything has a place to serve, as we are here to serve as well. And I think those philosophies run deep in many of those cultures that we have forgotten today, or we're just not taught today. We're taught to kind of give ourselves over to God and not take any ownership or discovery of our own inner root or our own inner core. It isn't about just give it up to God. It is about finding the God within you, whatever your God is, right? And then when
that's the right word.
all right, and that's
Find the
when
God
that's when the
within you.
true connection is, right? And whatever that connection is, whatever your God is, when you are united and connected with that, then you truly understand your purpose in life, and what the core value of life is, and what love is, and what really service is, because we're here to serve one another. And the more that we do that, the more we benefit as a human culture. And I think we need to bring those cultures back into play. And and it's simple, movies and books and people talking about it and podcasts and things like this help people to be reminded, help people to stop looking for the outside life and realize it's an inside out life. And the more in tune you are within the inside, the more you're going to enjoy the outside. But the more you're chasing the outside, the more lost you are on the inside. So it's all a journey, isn't it? It's all about balance.
All a journey, all about balance. And these are deep words.
Yep. Well, obviously the depth is in the books, and I'm looking forward to all the other books coming out and the thread. And I'm glad that you're bringing that deep, wonderful African culture to people, and understanding the heartbeat of African culture, right? Because it is that heartbeat that connects with the spirit, and that's really the whole entire frequency and vibration of Africa. And again, what lies within us, connect to our heartbeat, our soul heartbeat, and then we're on the right road, we're on the right frequency. Thank you so
Exactly.
much.
Connect to our roots, connect to our inner selves, connect
Yeah.
to Mother Earth.
Yeah, Mother Earth, and to the beautiful universe that serves us, right? Because we're here to serve one another. We're here for an experience for a reason. Let's dive into that experience, and let's embrace our essence, and let's be all that we know we're meant to be. And we can do that only if we're united. Not as
That's
a
correct.
collective human beings, but united with heaven and earth, right?
Everyone. That's correct. That's correct.
Thank you so much for sharing here today. I want you to come back when the next book is ready. Okay, come back, share the
No
next one.
problem. I will.
And
Thank you again for
oh, my
having me.
pleasure. Thank you for taking this path and bringing your wonderful culture into a story where it is enlightening, educational, inspiring, and inviting, because it's
Thank you.
something that we all need very much in the world. So thank you. And folks, reach out. Remember, his site is Tales the Tale series, TALE series.com, and you can find his book, Tale by Yosef, YESSOHGD, on Amazon or on Barnes and Nobles or on Kobe. Get the book and have an African experience, and just see how much it resonates with your heart and soul. Until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. Find all of our shows on selfdiscoverymedia.com under podcasts or selfdiscoverymedia/shows. And for all our current shows, go to What's New. We are supported by you, the audience. You'll see a nice big shiny blue button for one-time donations, or follow us on Patreon and you will be able to support us there. We enjoy bringing you such wisdom. And the next show will be up in just a moment.